Government shutdown strikes again in North Carolina. More needy families in North Carolina will begin feeling the pinch of the shutdown Monday as the state suspends its Work First program. What's that all about?
That is welfare, temporary assistance for needy families. That's what they call it in North Carolina.
Work First. Huh?
Mm-hmm. And, that gives like $200 a month to really poor moms and dads trying to raise their kids. And North Carolina, for some reason, has been a real hotspot for the shutting down programs administered by the state. Other states aren't doing this just yet, though they will if the shutdown goes on, which it could. But so that, more bad news for people in North Carolina relying on the government safety net.
Did you see the story in the New York? So this is North Carolina. Again, we're talking a couple of $100 a month, right? Did you see the story in the New York Times yesterday about the Indian family out in it was Montana? Same thing with Bureau of Indian Affairs payments or something about $150 a month. This woman depended on for her family of 3.
I didn't see the specific story, but a lot of Indian programs, which get all this separate appropriation, have been severely affected by the shutdown. And of course, it's such a small constituency that it gets so much less attention.
Have you taken a look at the shutdown's impact on veterans programs?
I have not.
No, that's all right. I know. That's
Pop quiz, Arthur.
Come on, Arthur.
Although from headlines, I am aware that they've been having some issues and people have had to volunteer to step up. But they, veterans in the military were supposed to be shielded, like it's Fight Club, right? Except Republicans and Democrats agree, no shots to the groin or biting, and so they agree they'll make sure military pay is protected and veterans can get their, the surviving families can get death benefits and things like that. But there are still programs that serve veterans that have been shutting down and forcing volunteers to step up.
No, big time in terms of benefits, in terms of hospitals, services available, and everything. I was just wondering because we talked yesterday about this phony Million Vets March at the, which amounted to about 200 people, a few of whom were vets at the World War II Memorial. Yes, Sunday. But here's something that did catch my attention in Huffington Post, HuffingtonPost.com. Arthur Delaney. 5 ways a prolonged government shutdown steals food from babies.
That's right.
Yeah? Tell us about it.
Well, you saw one of them in North Carolina that we just talked about.
Yeah.
TANF shutting down there. If this goes on until November, that's going to happen everywhere as November drags on. Now it looks like there might be a deal before then. But that's only been the case for the past 24 hours.
Right.
And it's entirely possible that will fall through. So another program that will be in big trouble come November is WIC, the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children. 9 million moms and babies across the country. Already 5 states said, we got to shut WIC down. We have no more money. And the USDA scrambled and gave them contingency funds. And they reopened. So they have said, if this goes on for another month, no way.
So for the time being, because we heard about WIC, and you told us about WIC a couple of weeks ago, for the time being, WIC has still managed to stay in business. Is that right?
Yes, thanks to leftover money and contingency funds. A sort of shoestring operation there. Then Head Start. Come November, 86,000 children in 41 states could lose access to Head Start, and that's for preschool age kids, gives them nutritious meals and early cognitive schooling.
And some Head Start programs have already been cut. We reported on some of them.
Yeah, and then these philanthropists donated $10 million. And they reopened. So again, another situation where it's only staying open through November,
Band-Aid,
thanks to a Band-Aid. And then there's, of course, the furloughed workers. They're on the list here. We've interviewed workers. They got kids to feed and bills to pay. And the longer this goes on, when they have missed 1 or 2 paychecks.
They've already missed one paycheck.
Yeah, as of today for probably most people, the 15th. So we've talked to people who are already facing a crunch because of that. One woman interviewed by my colleague Jason Cherkis, she told her daughter, you can have new winter boots or you can have food. And I mean, obviously there was no real choice. It was the food. They're putting off the winter boots there. And then the biggest question mark, food stamps. 50 million people rely on food stamps for food each month. And the USDA has only said we're good through October. And they don't say what happens in November. So it's a bit of a question mark. But the size of that program is huge. So it's a big deal that there's uncertainty there.
Did I hear you correctly? 50 million people?
50 million people getting $133 a month. And they don't say that the program will keep going next month. It could, but they're being very quiet about it. Whereas with some other things they have set up front, it'll be good for months.
But what does it say about the United States of America? I mean, in the year 2013, that 50 million Americans depend on food stamps just to get by. I mean,
well,
right?
it says there's a lot of things that says, and it depends on your political persuasion, how you interpret that. Here's what
I don't think it does. I don't think it's good news whether you're a Republican or a Democrat.
Well, Paul Ryan will say it just shows our welfare state is a hammock and people are chilling out in it. I think it shows the lack of good jobs and generosity of the safety net. We don't let people starve in this country. But if you shut down the government, the program that doesn't let people starve, it won't. It shuts down and people don't have food. And this picture,
but it also shows, that while we hear more stories about people doing really, 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 really well, there are a lot of Americans who are not. This rising tide has not lifted all boats, right? There's a lot of poverty in this country. A lot of people who are living right on the margins.
The soaring income inequality is just a stick in the eye for everyone who works hard and is still poor. It just doesn't seem very fair at all.
No.
And it's very real.
And it's getting wider and wider, right?
Wider and wider. Incomes have gone up 60% overall for the past 30 years. But that's 250% for the top 1%. And, peanuts for the rest. So it's not controversial. It's a fact. And it's, a crappy fact.
Yeah. So so this deal that they're talking about, right, would reopen the government, but only until, end the shutdown.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about going into default, God forbid. Just talking about the effects of the shutdown here. It would reopen the government only until January the 15th.
And then we get to do all this again. Which for journalists is fine because I can just hit Control-C and then Control-V and then republish everything. We had some stuff left over from the last almost shutdown, but now, we're really well rehearsed in everything that goes wrong. So that'll be easy for me. Tough luck for everyone who's starving in America.
Yeah, I was just going to, yeah, right. It's good for us, right? So we know, we've been through the drill now. We know the arguments. We know what to talk about. We know what to write. We know where to go to find the stories.
And what happens?
The people who are on the short end of the stick here, right? They're right
Well, they'll
back.
know what to expect, too.
Yeah.
But what
Hunger.
an amazing thing about the shutdown I was thinking this morning is how the conventional wisdom about what would happen was just amazingly accurate. Everyone said Republicans will get blamed. The polls have just followed that script.
Totally. Totally.
Absolutely perfectly. And the programs that are shutting down, it's pretty much what we expected to happen. And now with this deal, it basically looks like Republicans caving, like we said we'd wait to happen.